freight forwarding in Ireland was unknown up to about the mid-1920s, when LEP Transport from the UK set up a branch operation in Ireland. Then in the 30s, you had one or two small freight forwarding companies set up who eventually became quite large. But the main impetus was as a reaction to the influx of foreign manufacturing companies in the early 60s, all through the 60s into the 70s, from the United States, from the continent, and so on. And in that situation, there now was sufficient business, if you like, coming in and out of the country to warrant other freight forwarding companies, including my own company, which my brother and myself started in the 70s, called Walsh Western. And then there was a fair amount of competition all through that period. My own involvement with the Irish International Freight Association goes back quite a while, in the early 70s. In fact, in the early 70s, we already started training courses unofficially in Dublin, and they went on for maybe 6 or 7 or 10 years. So that was my initial involvement with the association. I eventually, in 1981, was elected. I had the honour of being elected president of the association, and during that particular year, 1981, we hosted the FIATA International Conference, when we had maybe more than 1,200 people, forwarders mainly from all over the world, that visited here in 1981. So that was a highlight for the association, and certainly for me. So I continued my connections with the association, and then 4 years ago I was appointed CEO of the association. FIATA is the International Association of National Associations around the world. It's the biggest, the largest transport associated organization. It has affiliations with United Nations, for example, and also with Brussels. So it is highly respected, has been there since 1925. The requirement was always there for the association to set up some formal training for people in the industry. There has not been there, like you have, for instance, different professions like accountancy and so on, that have developed these standards and so on. Freight forwarding as such hasn't done that, so we were really following on the footsteps of FIATA, who set up these standards, if you like, in 1995, and that is the reason why we adopted them. It's important nowadays for people in the forwarding industry to be able to produce a certificate of knowledge, really. So because nowadays people move a lot more than they did many years ago, and a distinct qualification helps the human resources department of any company to be able to judge an applicant for a job. Maybe 20 or 30 years ago it was sufficient, like when we didn't have any formal training, but we knew our business and people knew we knew our business. But now life has got so relatively complicated that it does help to have an official qualification to show that you are qualified. The other point also is that in many situations people find themselves working in a particular area of transportation. That could be trucking, could be air freight, could be sea freight, customs clearance, but they tend to stick in a silo and stay with that, whereas this course is designed as for a freight forwarder, who is, after all, described as the architect of transport. He should know and be aware of the different aspects of the different modes of transport and be able to compare them for his client. And that's why this FIATA diploma in freight forwarding gives one the knowledge to do with all the different modes of transport, not just one specific area. And this qualification attests to that training.